Hello and welcome to another review. It's just one we keep looking at the tmnt December Adventures issue number 2, and yeah, this issue was really great and amazing. This whole issue really focusing on the Rat King and his whole story, also set out some stuff with Shredder and Krang for following issues to come, which was just really great and amazing. Okay, so to start the story off, we do get to see Shredder and Krang, they're in this warehouse and talking to one another, and Shredder's talking about this rock which he stole at Tesseract in the last issue, which I must admit is pretty interesting, as I've got a feeling that this whole story is going to be something which they do set up for the next following issues, which could be really great and interesting, depending on how they go around this whole story. Now I must admit, this was something which should have a little bit of a problem in the actual show itself, where nothing really felt connected and just felt all like so episodic, which was, I must admit, it worked for the time, but I think that looking back on it now, it doesn't really hold up too well for the show itself. But I do think that going in this direction for the story, for the comics and stuff like that, it could be really interesting, depending on how they go around this all. Now as Shredder and Krang are talking to each other, we do get the discovery that basically there was two rocks, and one rock was used to create this sword that basically could slice through reality and stuff like that, whereas the other rock is something which like Krang and Shredder have in their hands and they're going to do something with. And yeah, that's pretty much all we got with Shredder and Krang's story, and overall I think that this bit here was really great, and I do think that depending on how they do take this story in the next following issues, could be really great and really interesting, just depending on what they do with it. I hope they do something more with it and do make it really interesting and great, but at the same time, it's this version of Turtles and IDW, so we know what to expect. Yeah. Okay, so then going into the next bit, we do get to see a little bit of the crime spree the Rat King is having with the Turtles. They're blowing up a cheese store and giving all the cheese to the rats, and yeah, I don't have too much to really say about that scene. It's just, yeah, it's amazing and hilarious, really like delving into the comedy side of this like universe, and I just think it works so well for this series, and yeah, I do hope they do really like lean into this a little bit more and do like expand upon like some more comedy stuff for some future issues, because I think that this could be like the big benefit for like this universe and these comics. So I do hope that they do lean into this a little bit more, because I think that the cheese thing was interestingly great. So the next following pages, we do get to see Donatello's working on his Zapper thing to basically electrocute the turtles to get them out of Rat King's control, and I do think that here is pretty interesting, really great, and we do get to see that Splinter is there and tells Donatello that basically he wants to come with them to go after them and help the turtles in any way that he can, and I do think that this is a pretty interesting side of his character, which I don't think we normally get to see too often with this version of Splinter, so I think it's really great and really cool to see it happen here. But again, it's not really so much to really say here because it just happens, and yeah. Okay, so then going into the next bit, which I'd say is probably the main part about the story, which I'd say is really great and just possibly the best part about the series so far. We do get to see the turtles, they're down in the sewers, and want to blow up the like sewer pipe and all that, just so that they can flood the city. And they start blowing it up, and that's when Splinter and Donatello come into the fight. So Splinter goes off and fights Rat King, which I must admit is pretty great to see them two fight. I always did enjoy their fighting in the 87 show, and it's just really great to see it here. Meanwhile, we do have Donatello going around zapping Raphael and Michelangelo, and then he needs help to zap Leonardo. But that is when the Rat King comes in again, and he mind controls the turtles, and basically like more or less like tells the turtles to go after Splinter, which is just amazingly great again. Now during this scene where we do get to see Splinter fight the turtles, I do feel as though that this is definitely the scene which I did feel as though didn't really feel like the 87 Splinter. I think that's more down to the fact like the way that he was speaking to the turtles, and I felt more as though like he felt more like a 2003 Splinter with how he was speaking to them. But I think that might be just down to the way that he was saying like how much he cared for his sons and stuff like that. I know that he did care for them in the 87 show, but it feels though like he was speaking more as the 2003 Splinter, which I do think felt like really out of his character for this version of Splinter. But either way, I do think that this fight worked really well. It's so great and so fun and amazing just seeing Splinter coming in and fighting the turtles. They're so great and amazing, can't really complain too much other than that. It's just so amazingly good. So then after that, we do get to see Splinter picks up the Zapper and then zaps Rat King, and this is more or less where like Rat King loses his ability to control the turtles. And I must admit, I thought that was pretty interesting to see that even he can lose his abilities, And they do sort of set things up that maybe he does still have his rat abilities, but it's still unclear if he actually does or not. So I thought that was pretty interesting, like to say the very least. And yeah. And then after that, we do get to see the turtles at home, they're watching the news reports that April's giving, and there's not really too much I can really say here. It's just like one of those scenes that are just there and stuff like that. And yeah, it was there. So on the final page, you do get to see the Rat King. He's in prison, and he's talking about basically he shouldn't be in prison because of all these things that he's allegedly done, and that technically means that he hasn't done it. So yeah, I guess that kind of works. But then he brings out the wild card and says that he got a lawyer's degree. What? And yeah, that's something which is now canon to the 7 universe, and yeah, something which I was not expecting to hear from the Rat King, and it's definitely something which I was not expecting to see from this version of Rat King, saying that he's basically he could have been a lawyer and stuff like that, and it's just so out there, and just I don't know, they really are leaning into the comedy side of this like universe, and I do think that's really working in its favour, and it's just so amazingly great, and just, oh god, I want to see a lot more from this side of like the writing side, because I think that like stuff like this where we are leaning into more of the comedy side is really working in its favour, just really helping it. It's just, yeah, it's just so amazing and just great. I can't complain other than that. It's just wow. Oh god, yeah. So yeah, I must admit overall, I do feel as though that this issue was really great, so amazing. I do think there's a lot of really great things about this issue. One, setting things up for the future of Shredder and Krang for a storyline, which could be really interesting depending how they go around it. I do think that the whole battle between the Rat King and Splinter and the Turtles, they're all really great, and I feel as though that everything about the fight scenes in this one was just so great and on point, and just worked so well for this storyline. And then even for the final page, where I do get to see the Rat King is a lawyer, or at the very least could have been a lawyer, so I do think that's pretty interesting, just so great and so fun. I do think that this whole issue definitely shows off the advantages and benefits that this like universe has with being more comedic and stuff like that, and this whole comic series leaning into that. I do think that this whole series does have potential to be a really great one, and something that it goes on for quite a while, because so far I'm loving like these comics now, and yeah, I can't wait to see what more stories they do have and tell for us. I think there's like so much fun they could have, but yeah. Then another thing which I do want to mention, which I not mentioned before, the artwork for this issue was pretty great. This one was done by Jack Lawrence, and yeah, it worked so well for this story. I don't know if Jack Lawrence is coming back to do any more issues. I sort of hope he does, because I did quite enjoy his art style, and yeah, it's just so amazing. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below what you think about this issue. And yeah, that's gonna be it for today, guys. If you do something, please share. Let's just grab no stuff. Goodbye, yo. Bye.